Welcome to Secondary Math Methods, Week 5. And this week, we talk about technology. Now, it's going to be a short video this week. And the reason why is because technology changes so much that when I first learned about technology, when I was first as a student in college and then as a teacher, we had learned all about technology. And in about 6 months, everything changed. Just to give you an example, I first learned how to do trig functions in high school by using a CRC table, and we had to go across the table. If we wanted to find the sine of 20, it was over here, and then you had to extrapolate in between. Then we used our slide rule. I began college a long time ago with an SR10 Texas Instrument calculator. This thing cost me $150, by the way. And then later on I got a cheaper one for $75. And then when I was taking a course in computer programming, we had punch hole cards, and this would be the punch hole machines, and we would write each line of our computer program, the computer program, into this punch hole, and it would come out something like this. And then you would send it in batch processing, and a few days later you'd get back your computer printout, and hopefully you didn't make a mistake. When I started teaching, I used a Model 1, TRS-80 Model 1 computer. That was high-tech. This is about 1979, 1980. And in fact, when we saved objects, we had to have the students had to save it on a cassette tape on a player. And then later on, we went high-tech a couple years later with the Model 3, TRS-8 Model 3. You know, the floppy disk here. It had 2 drives. It was really a treat. When I went back to grad school, had the Apple IIe with a big floppy disk there as well. And then later on, and when I was teaching, the first iMacs came out. And then later on, the iMac books came out, which looked like toilet seat covers. So that gives you an idea of just their evolution. So you are probably using much better instruments than I ever was expected to use when I was taught to use technology. So the book chapter here, which is about chapter 5, and you can look at chapter 5 all the way down here, talks a bit about how to use technology to enhance math instructions. I'll send you this link here. It's based on the NCTM Principles and Standards. A couple of things I will say, because students get to use calculators in class, and it's your philosophy as to how much you want to use calculators. And usually there's a controversy as to should the students use it, are they not learning the math, and so on. I let the students use the calculators as much as possible because I'm looking for the process of learning. Now, if you were in the teaching second grade and you're learning basic addition of single or double digit numbers, then you would probably not use calculators. But when you get to the process of problem solving, and they have to multiply 3-digit numbers, you don't want to spend half the time multiplying 3-digit numbers. You use it in your calculator, and it's what the result and how you interpret the results that are important. That's how you should create problem-solving situations. But in calculators, this is one thing I learned, and even now as an instructor in college, is that not every student knows how to use a calculator, or a computer for that fact. But so you sort of have to give a little tutorial on how to use the calculator. And if you're using graphing calculators, can get a little bit complicated for some people who are not familiar. And you don't want to spend a lot of time just teaching how to use the calculator. That's not the point of the math class. Same thing for using Excel. I use Excel quite a bit in my stats class. Well, I give them an idea of how to use it, but I don't want to spend the whole time teaching Excel. It's not a computer applications class, it's a stats class, or it's a math class. So you may want to have some study aids, may make a video of how to use it. That would be great. They could always go back to that. That's one of the things you can use. But sometimes it can be like, here's an inverse function exploration. You can use that to check the inverse signs and the signs and so on. Again, there's no reason why they can't use the calculator to find the trig functions of an angle. So there's a lot to be talked about in calculators, and there's a lot to be talked about in computer software. Now, some of you are probably using the high-tech tablets. And the tablets have recently become a major part of the classroom, something that 10 years ago was not even thought of. So who knows what it's going to be like in 10 years. But using the tablets presents a whole different type of resource for your class. And there's a lot of applications, apps, and as well as regular computer software. So you can, again, use it, but try to have the time to teach the students how to use the tablet or whatever kind of hardware you're using. And of course, on the internet, there's so much now that you can use. A lot of free stuff if you can use that. It's a lot of interactive material as well. So this is something that you can look at as well. So I would just recommend that you do what you're doing now with your mentor teacher. They have some of the best material. Another thing that you can use, of course, is if you have access to it, the whiteboards, the computer whiteboards. So that's another resource that's really it's been around for about 10 years, 10, 15 years, and they've really enhanced it, and it's quite a very popular in elementary schools. However, sometimes you'll find that you have to share it with either people in your own department. There's probably one or two available. It'd be really fortunate if you were in a school system that there was one in every classroom. So hopefully you have that type of technology as well, and use it wisely. So in essence, you can look at the textbook and look at chapter 5 and see what he talks about in terms of calculators and computers and appropriate use and so on. It's about 46 pages of material in this. I think it's best that you just scan it and peruse it for different types of ideas as you prepare your unit, and use the materials in your present classroom. That's the best way to learn how to use technology. You're very smart people. You're probably way ahead of the curve on this. You've been a generation that's been raised in schools to use technology, so you can go really far with this. So I hope that you impress me with your units, and especially in the use of technology. And take care.